Beloved child, listen deeply in the silence of your soul, for I am calling you to step into a new season, not like the old seasons you once walked through with the weariness and anxieties of the flesh, but a season in which my light is touching the deepest layers of your heart. There are doors I am closing, not to take anything away from you, but to keep you from returning to the dark places that once wore down your soul. There are also doors I am opening very gently, and only those who remain close to me can hear the hinges of heaven beginning to move. You have prayed for change for so long, but now I tell you that what I desire to give you is not merely a new circumstance, but a new heart. For if the soul still carries old chains, you will bring yesterday's pain into tomorrow. That is why I am doing a work deeper than what your eyes can see. I am touching the roots of the things that have caused you to become exhausted in secret many times. Many nights, you thought you had lost your worth because of your moments of weakness. But I have never looked at you with eyes of rejection. When the world sees only mistakes, I still see the seed of glory that I placed within you from the very beginning. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. As Ezekiel 36:26 says, is not a promise for perfect people, but for souls who have grown weary from trying to save themselves. I know there are parts of you that have lived for far too long under the shadow of fear. There are memories you have never told anyone. There are wounds that still quietly bleed whenever night falls. But my child, I did not enter your life to expose you to shame. I entered it to heal what you had hopelessly believed would never be healed again. Just as the shepherd leaves the 99 to search for the one lost sheep in the dark night, I also enter the deepest hidden places of your heart to bring you home, not because you are strong, but because my love has never stopped searching for you. Remember Jacob on the night he wrestled by the river Jabbok. He entered that night in fear, carrying a past full of deception and guilt. But when dawn came, he walked out with a new name. I did not destroy him because of his years of wandering. I renewed him through a sacred encounter. And beloved child, what I did with Jacob, I am also doing with you. This season may make you feel as though you are being broken, but often the very place of breaking is where the light can enter most easily. Do not be afraid of what I am stripping away from your life. There are things you once held on to, thinking they were life, when in truth, they were only burdens that kept your soul from rising in freedom. I am teaching you to release what no longer belongs to your new season. And even though that letting go may sometimes hurt you, I am still there, gently holding every trembling piece of your heart. You have grown too used to hiding your tears behind a smile, too used to saying, I am fine, while inside you are running dry. But before me, you no longer need to play the role of the strong one. I do not love you because you are always right. I love you because you are you. Even when you collapse in faith, I still sit beside the place where your soul is weeping. A bruised reed he will not break, and a smoldering wick he will not snuff out. As Isaiah 42:3 says, is what I want you to remember whenever you feel too weak to continue. I do not treat you with the coldness of the world. I do not cast you away simply because you need to be restored. What I have begun in your life, I will complete by my grace. Then there will come days when you realize that holiness is not about trying to become someone who never makes mistakes, but about learning to remain so close to me that your heart begins to reflect my light naturally. Holiness is not an outer garment worn to impress the world. It is the quiet fragrance of a soul that has been touched by heavenly love. And it is in that closeness that the old things will gradually fall away from you, like withered leaves, leaving the branch at the end of a season. The thoughts that once imprisoned you will lose their power. The temptations that once weakened your heart will no longer rule your soul as they did before. Not because you become perfect overnight, but because my presence is slowly transforming you from within. Therefore, beloved child, Do not fear the season of change through which I am leading you. Do not run away when I touch the most painful places in your heart. The potter never abandons the vessel simply because it is still misshapen on the wheel. On the contrary, the potter's hands become even more patient when the vessel has not yet taken form. So it is with me and you. I am reshaping what has gone crooked, softening what has grown hardened, and pouring life into the places that were once dry. Perhaps today you cannot yet see the full beauty of what I am doing, but the time will come when you look back and understand that every cleansing was a sign of love. For I am not preparing you for destruction, but for glory. I am not taking you through the fire to consume you, but to burn away the chains that have held your soul for far too long. Walk with me still, little by little, in gentleness and trust. When you are weary, lean on me. When you are confused, let my word guide your mind. And when you feel that you no longer have the strength to change, remember that the power to renew does not lie in your own effort, but in my Spirit who lives within you, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. As Zechariah 8:4-6 says, I am calling you to step out of the old self and put on a new light. I am leading you into a season where your soul will no longer live in shame, no longer run away from love, no longer bow its head beneath the past. And then you will understand that this season of holy transformation is not only the end of the old self, but also the dawn of a soul that is truly alive. Beloved child, there are seasons in life when I no longer allow your soul to remain forever in the same place, not because I have stopped loving you in your present condition, but because my love is too great to let you continue sleeping in the very things that are quietly causing the light within you to fade. A seed cannot remain forever inside its shell and still expect to become a great tree. It must accept being broken open in the darkness of the soil. It must allow the old to dissolve so that new life can rise. So it is with you. If you keep clinging tightly to the things I have already desired to close, your heart will have no room left for what heaven is preparing. There are people you once considered a place of refuge, but the longer you walked with them, the farther your soul drifted from my peace. There are habits that seemed harmless on the surface, yet day by day, they have been dimming your spiritual sight. And there are also dreams you once held onto with all your heart. But deep within, you know they were born from fear, lack, or the longing to be recognized, not from my calling. Therefore, do not blame me when I begin to loosen from your hands the things you once held very tightly. A good father does not give a sharp knife to a child simply because the child cries to keep it. I am the same. There are things I take away not to leave you empty, but to save your soul from what would wound you more deeply later on. Remember Abraham when I called him to offer Isaac on Mount Moriah. What I desired was not only the sacrifice on the altar, but a heart willing to place me above even the most precious thing. And when Abraham opened his hands in obedience, I did not only preserve his son for him, I also opened an everlasting covenant for his descendants. Beloved child, many times, what is holding you back from the new season is not something evil, but something you love too much. There are old blessings that will become chains if you place them above me. That is why I am teaching you the art of holy surrender, not surrender in bitterness, but in trust. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust in Him, and He will act. As Psalm 37:5 says, when you stop trying to control everything with your weary hands, you will begin to see my power move in the very places you once thought were lost. Then there will come a time when I lead you through the fire of purification, and you will wonder why everything inside you seems to be melting. But my child, that is not the fire of wrath. It is the fire of heavenly love, cleansing your soul. The refiner of gold is not afraid of the fire becoming too hot. because he knows that only when gold passes through the fire do the impurities rise to the surface and get removed. I am doing the same with you. There are painful memories that have clung to your mind for far too long. There are insults, failures, and betrayals that you have silently carried as though they were part of your identity. But I did not create you to live forever under the shadow of the past. The fire of my spirit is entering those hidden places to heal what has decayed within. And even when you sometimes feel pain as I touch the places you once tried to hide, remember that a physician must touch the wound in order to cleanse it. Do not be afraid when my light shines into the hidden corners of your heart. What you call breaking is often only the hard shell falling away so that your true heart can live again. There are souls that have grown so used to living in numbness that when healing begins, they mistake it for pain. But only what is still alive can feel the touch of the holy fire. He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. As Malachi 3:3 says, I do not abandon you in that fire. I sit close to your soul every moment. I see every tear that falls in the night. I hear even the prayers you have not yet been able to speak aloud. And when everything false has been burned away, you will realize that you have not lost yourself. But for the first time, you have truly found yourself in me. Therefore, this season is not merely about changing a few outward actions so that people may see you differently. I am not looking for a moral appearance. I desire a renewed heart. Holiness is not only about staying away from darkness, but about allowing my light to live so powerfully within you that darkness no longer has any place to dwell in you. Many people try to become better by their own strength, yet their souls remain exhausted from having to wear the mask of perfection. I am not calling you into that pretense. I want your very nature to be transformed from within. When my living water flows through your soul, goodness will no longer be a burden you must force yourself to carry. It will become the natural breath of a soul that has drawn near to me. If anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. Old things have passed away. Behold, all things have become new. As 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, this is not a promise reserved for some distant day, but the very work I am beginning in you even now. I know there is still a part of you that trembles before change. You fear that if you let go of what is familiar, you will be alone. You fear that if you abandon the old, you will have nothing left to hold on to. But hear me clearly. Beloved child, no one has ever lost anything for my sake, and, in the end, become empty. When I take away an empty vessel, it is because I want to place living water into your hands. When I close a door, it is because ahead of you there is a wider path that your eyes have not yet seen. Do not look at loss through the eyes of the flesh. Some things leaving your life are not punishment, but deliverance. And then you will understand that what I have prepared for you cannot be decayed by time, cannot be stolen by people, and cannot be destroyed by darkness. Let your hands open before me. Let your soul stop resisting the flow of the Spirit. For after this season of cleansing, you will no longer be the person who once lived in shame, fear, and exhaustion. I am leading you into a freedom that no chain can hold, into a peace that the world cannot take away. And when you step out of that refining fire, you will shine brightly like gold that has been purified, carrying within you the beauty of a soul that has learned to trust me more than its own fear. Beloved child, do not turn your face away from my light simply because you are afraid to see what is hidden deep within your soul. My light is not like the judging gaze of the world. The world exposes in order to condemn, but I shine my light in order to heal. I do not enter the dark places of your heart to shame you. I enter like dawn, passing through a room that has been closed for far too long, so that the warmth of life may touch the place that was once coldest and loneliest. There are pains you have hidden so carefully that even you have forgotten they are still quietly controlling your thoughts and emotions. There are memories you have covered with a smile, with busyness, with the appearance of strength, yet I still hear the cry of your soul in the late hours of the night. And now, I am gently calling you to stop running, for the more you allow me to touch the truth within, the lighter your burden becomes, the more courageously you face what you once feared, the closer you step toward the freedom I have prepared for you long ago. Remember the Samaritan woman at the well in days past. She had grown used to living behind layers of concealment and unfinished stories. But when I met her under the noon sun, I did not begin with condemnation. I began with an invitation. Whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst again. I touched the truth in her life, not to crush her, but to open a stream of living water that had never flowed through her soul before. And, beloved child, I am doing the same with you. I know there are parts of you that still carry shame, still fearing that if others were to see your true self completely, they would leave you. But my grace truly works most powerfully in a soul that has stopped pretending. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. As John 8:32 says, healing does not begin when you appear perfect. It begins when you become honest enough to tell me where you are hurting. There will be people who do not understand the change I am working in you. They are used to the old version of you, the version that always tried to blend in with the crowd, always yielded to the voice of the world in order to be accepted. But when the light begins to grow within your soul, the darkness around you will become uncomfortable. Perhaps they will say, you have changed too much. Perhaps they will call your awakening extreme. But my child, a seed cannot remain forever beneath the soil if it was born to rise into a great tree. The transformation I am carrying out is not a rebellion against the world. It is the journey of bringing you back to the true self I ordained before you ever cried your first cry. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. As Matthew 16:25 says, when you stop trying to preserve the old version built from fear and the need to please others, you will begin to find the true person created in my light. Then I will teach you things the world cannot teach. I will teach you to listen with the ears of your soul, so that amid the thousands of noises around you, you will still recognize my voice. Just as a shepherd recognizes the call of his own flock, I will teach you to see with the eyes of faith, so that even when your circumstances have not yet changed, your heart can still remain steady in hope. There are seasons when I do not immediately calm the storm around you, because I am forming within you a peace stronger than the sound of the winds outside. When the disciples panicked in the raging sea, I was sleeping peacefully in the boat, not because I did not see the storm, but because I knew the power of the Father was greater than the violent waves. And beloved child, I want your soul to learn that same peace, the peace that does not depend on everything being perfect, but comes from knowing that I am still with you in every circumstance. There will be days when you walk only by my promise, not by your feelings. There will be days when your eyes do not yet see anything changing. But I still want you to keep sowing hope, keep loving, keep praying, and keep trusting. For true faith is not built upon what the eyes can see, but upon my faithful nature. The righteous shall live by faith. As Romans 1:17 says, I am teaching you how to stand firm, even while your heart is still trembling. I am teaching you how to keep tenderness in a world that is growing colder. I am teaching you how to smile, not because every wound has disappeared, but because you know you no longer have to carry them alone. Do not think holiness is a chain that steals the joy from your life. Holiness is the doorway that leads you into true freedom. A bird is not free when it flies into a storm simply because it enjoys the feeling of rebellion. It is truly free when it flies according to the current of wind it was created for. So it is with your soul. When you walk in obedience, you are not being imprisoned. You are being protected from the things that could destroy the light within you. The narrow path may sometimes make you feel alone, but it is that very path that leads to eternal life. And then the day will come when you look back and realize that everything I asked you to surrender was only a temporary shadow compared with the glory I had prepared. Therefore, beloved child, it is time for you to take off the old garment of fear, shame, and weariness. Step out of the familiar land where your soul has taken shelter for far too long. I am calling you into a new season, a season in which I will wash the old traces from your soul like the first rain of the season, washing dust from a dry field. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. As Ezekiel 36:26 says, I am renewing you from within, not merely so that you may look better before the eyes of people, but so that the light of heaven may truly live within you. And then, when others look into your eyes, they will no longer see only the wounds or weariness that once weighed heavily upon you. They will see a peace that does not belong to this world. They will see hope still burning in the darkness. They will see my own light reflected through your life, gentle, powerful, and impossible to extinguish. Beloved child, there will come a day when you yourself will realize that you are no longer the person who first stepped into this season of cleansing. You will look back on the old days like a distant dream, where your soul once lived in fear, in weariness, and in invisible chains that you had grown far too accustomed to carrying. But when I complete my work within you, the breath of heaven will be present in every word you speak. Others will sense the gentleness in your eyes, not because you have learned how to appear peaceful, but because my peace has truly come to dwell within your soul. Your steps will no longer carry the weight of despair, because my love will become the strength that upholds you each day, and your life will be a living testimony that I am still healing broken hearts, still renewing weary souls, still calling light to rise in the darkest places. Therefore, do not fear the change through which I am leading you. The most frightening thing is not having to leave what is familiar, but remaining forever in a place where your soul is slowly dying because of stagnation. A river remains clear only when it continues to flow. When water stands still for too long, it becomes cloudy. Your soul is the same. If you keep clinging to your safe place simply because you fear losing control, you will gradually lose the life I have placed within you. But if you dare to trust me, if you dare to follow my calling, even when you cannot yet see the full path ahead, you will bloom in places you never thought you could survive. Behold, I will do a new thing, now it shall spring forth. As Isaiah 43:19 says, is not only a promise for my people in ancient days, but also the word I am whispering to you in this very season. I am not drawing you out of darkness merely so that you may exist. I am drawing you out so that you may live abundantly in my light. There are things within your heart that have hardened through the years, disappointments that were never healed, wounds that made you afraid to open your heart as you once did, shattered dreams that caused you to stop hoping. But, beloved child, I have not forgotten any part of your soul. I see even the places that you yourself no longer have the strength to touch. And now, I am asking you to give me permission to enter those places. Let me remove from you the stones of bitterness, shame, and fear that have blocked the stream of living water. Let me rewrite the pages of your life that you once blurred with tears and mistakes. For I am the God of restoration. No broken piece is too sharp for my hands. No past is too damaged for me to renew. Remember Peter after the night he denied me 3 times. He once thought he had lost everything after that failure. The crowing of the rooster was not only the sound of weakness being exposed, but also the moment his soul broke before the truth about himself. But I did not leave Peter in shame. After the resurrection, I called him back beside the sea. And I did not ask him first about his failure, I asked him about his love. For I wanted him to understand that grace is stronger than falling. And that same man who once trembled in fear later became a strong rock for many other souls. Beloved child, I will do the same with you. The place you thought had ended your life may be the very place where I begin a new chapter filled with greater glory. Every season in your life carries a sacred purpose. There are seasons when I let you learn patience. There are seasons when I teach you how to trust in silence. But there will come a time when what once nourished you in the past is no longer enough for the present. A child cannot keep wearing the clothes of early childhood and step into maturity. I am also removing the old garment from your soul. There are ways of thinking that once helped you survive, but now they are keeping you from stepping deeper into the destiny I have prepared for you. There are relationships that once brought comfort, but now only keep you bound to a smaller version of yourself. That is why I allow shaking to happen, not to destroy you, but to awaken you from stagnation. Just as a farmer must plow the field after the harvest, I am also plowing your heart. The harder the soil, the deeper the plow must go. Therefore, do not think that the upheavals you are going through are a sign that I have abandoned you. It is precisely in the days when everything seems overturned that I am preparing room for new seeds from heaven to be planted. The soil is not broken open in order to die, but in order to bear more fruit. Your soul is the same. There are losses that make you feel empty, but that emptiness is often the very place I desire to fill with my presence. Unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains alone, but if it dies, it bears much fruit. As John 12:24 says, some things must come to an end so that a greater life may be born. This season is also a season of fire, not the fire of destruction, but the fire of truth and grace. Before I fill the vessel, I must cleanse away the residue still clinging inside. Before I entrust you with something greater, I must remove the things that are quietly poisoning your soul. Purification always makes the flesh uncomfortable, because it strips away what is false. But beloved child, do not confuse purification with rejection. The refiner only places into the fire what he considers precious. If I am correcting you, shaping you, and calling you deeper, that is evidence that my hand is still upon your life. For the Lord disciplines the one he loves. As Hebrews 12:6 says, true love does not leave a soul in the condition that is slowly causing it to wither. Therefore, step into this new season with humility and trust. Do not only ask me to change your circumstances, allow me to transform you. When your soul is renewed, you will see everything with different eyes. What once frightened you will no longer rule over you. What once made you despair will become a testimony of my faithfulness. And one day, when you stand in the harvest I have prepared, you will understand that not a single tear has fallen in vain. Every plow, every flame, every painful season has been quietly forming a new person within you, a soul that reflects my image more clearly, stronger in faith, softer in love, and more radiant in the midst of this darkened world. Beloved child, I am going deeper into your soul in this season. I am not only touching outward actions, but reaching the very roots of what moves you to live, to love, to serve, and to walk forward. There were things you once did that appeared very beautiful on the outside, yet deep within, they were still mixed with quiet longings to be recognized, noticed, and seen as worthy by others. I do not condemn you for this, because I know your heart grew up in a world that always made you believe you had to prove yourself in order to deserve love. But now, I am gently purifying your motives, so that your soul no longer lives for the gaze of people, but for my presence. I want you to learn how to do what is right even when no one applauds, how to love even when love is not returned, how to remain faithful in the secret place where only I can see. Your Father, who sees in secret will reward you. As Matthew 6:4 says, there are rewards that do not come from the cheers of the world, but from the deep peace of a soul that knows it is pleasing me. Then I am also purifying your obedience. I do not want you merely to carry the appearance of someone who belongs to me while your heart still remains far away. There are many souls who know how to say the right words and do the right things. Yet inside, they are exhausted because everything has become only a duty. I am not calling you into a relationship built on force or pressure. I want your obedience to be born from love. Just as a child runs to embrace his father not out of fear, but because he knows he is loved. I also want you to draw near to me with such a willing and tender heart. This people honors me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. As Mark 7:6 says, is a warning for those who keep only an outward spiritual appearance while forgetting true closeness with me. For what I seek is not only your actions, but the heart behind those actions. There are relationships around you that I am also touching in this season. You once thought that everyone who entered your life would walk with you to the end of the road. But beloved child, not everyone I allow you to meet is meant to remain forever. Some people come to teach you a lesson, some come to help you grow during a certain stage, and some leave because the new journey I am calling you into no longer aligns with them. Do not grieve too deeply when I begin to separate you from connections that are keeping your soul dependent on people more than on me. If a relationship causes you to lose your peace, draws you away from my voice, and makes you live by the fear of losing it rather than by faith, then it has become a chain and is no longer a blessing. I do not cut away to make you lonely. I cut away so that your soul may be free. Remember Abraham when I called him to leave his homeland. I did not show him the entire road ahead. I only told him to walk, and it was in that very separation that I formed a new nation. Beloved child, there will also be times when I call you to leave familiar places, not because I want to take every familiar thing away from you, but because I want you to discover that true safety is not found in places or people, but in me. Do not confuse being set apart with being abandoned. There are seasons when I draw you away from the crowd so that your soul will no longer be governed by the noise of the world. When Elijah hid in the cave amid weariness and disappointment, I did not speak to him through the great wind or the earthquake, but through a still, gentle whisper. I am also bringing you into a place of quietness so that you may hear my voice more clearly than the voice of your fear. This season of purification will not always feel pleasant. It is like fire touching gold, causing every impurity to rise to the surface. And at times, you may be surprised to see emotions you thought had disappeared rising up more strongly than ever before. You may see old anger, old pain, and old wounds suddenly appear. But do not be ashamed of that. When a physician cleanses a wound, the infected areas must be opened before healing can come. I am doing the same with your soul. The places you once avoided, the memories you once locked away, the fears you never dared to name, I am bringing them all into the light, not to condemn you, but to set you free. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. As John 1:5 says, darkness only has power when it remains hidden. Then there will be days when you wonder why everything seems to have become more difficult since you decided to draw closer to me. But my child, anything that is about to leave your life will resist before it lets go. When a farmer pulls weeds out by the roots, the ground must tremble. When I uproot the old dependencies from your soul, you will feel that same shaking. Do not be afraid of that sense of instability. It is not a sign that I have abandoned you, but evidence that I am freeing you from what once held you captive. There are words you once used to defend yourself, actions you once performed only to be accepted, fears that quietly controlled every decision you made. I am removing them from your life, little by little. If someone leaves during this season, Do not desperately cling to them. If something collapses, do not try to use your weary hands to rebuild what I am taking down. Remember that not every closed door is a loss. There are doors I close because there is no longer any life behind them. Beloved child, whatever truly belongs to you in my will cannot be taken away. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above. As James 1:17 says, what comes from me will carry peace with it, even if it must pass through trials. What comes from the world often begins with excitement but ends in exhaustion. Therefore, let me continue the work I am doing in you. Do not fear the refining fire. Do not fear the shaking. And do not fear the silence of the season of being set apart. After all these things, your soul will be lighter, purer, and freer. You will no longer live driven by the need to be accepted by others. You will stop chasing after things that do not truly nourish your soul. And one day, when you look back, you will understand that everything I took away was only a layer hiding the true beauty I placed within you from the very beginning. Beloved child, in this season, I am not only changing the circumstances around you, but also building within you a foundation that will not be easily shaken. There are souls who are faithful only when the sky is calm. But I am calling you to become one who still stands firm even when the winds rise and the fire surrounds you. For only the one who has learned to remain in me through trials can become a shelter for others on the day they are weary. I am forging within you a holy steadfastness, not the hardness of the flesh, but the gentle strength of a soul that knows to whom it belongs. The world teaches you to chase your emotions, but I am teaching you to cling to my promise. For emotions change like the waves of the sea, filled with hope today but able to sink into fear tomorrow. But my word does not change. The grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God stands forever. As Isaiah 40:8 says, when everything around you trembles, my word will become the rock beneath your feet. I know there are days when you do not feel me near. There are nights when your prayers seem only to echo into silent emptiness. But beloved child, do not measure my presence by temporary feelings. There are times when I am doing the deepest work in your life precisely when you cannot see anything at all. Remember Joseph in prison. He did not see the door open for many years. He did not see my plan amid betrayal and being forgotten. But day by day in that darkness, I was quietly shaping his character for the throne ahead. If I had given him authority too soon, his unhealed wounds and pride could have destroyed him. So it is with you. There are things I have not yet given, not because I am rejecting you, but because I am preparing you to be steady enough to carry what I am about to entrust to you. I am teaching you to recognize my voice among the countless voices of the world. There are voices urging you to live by fear. There are voices making you think your worth depends on how others perceive you. But my voice always leads you back to peace, even when the road ahead is still unclear. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. As John 10:27 says, I no longer want you to live guided by the noise around you. I want you to learn how to pause in the midst of chaos and listen to the heartbeat of heaven. For when your soul becomes truly familiar with my voice, you will no longer be easily shaken by judgments or temporary upheavals. Do not fear the fire I allow to pass through your life in this season. My grace does not avoid the fire. My grace walks with you through the fire. When the 3 Hebrews were thrown into the fiery furnace because they refused to bow before the idol, the fire did not consume them. On the contrary, right there in the middle of the furnace, people saw another one walking with them. Beloved child, that is also what I want you to understand. You will never have to go through trials alone. The fire may make you cry. It may cause the layers of pride, fear, and doubt within you to ache as they are stripped away. But that fire has not been sent to destroy you. It has been sent to burn away what has been hiding, my light within you. And when those layers fall away, your soul will reflect my image more clearly than ever before. Every tear you have shed in secret has not been in vain. I have seen every time you chose silence instead of retaliation, forgiveness instead of nurturing bitterness, prayer instead of giving up. You do not know that each of those choices has been weakening the old chains within your soul. Forgiveness is not saying that what others did to you was right. Forgiveness is refusing to let their darkness continue living inside your heart. And every time you lay down resentment, you are stepping closer to the freedom I have prepared for you. Then the day will come when you look back on this season of purification and understand that what I allowed to happen was not meant to take your life away, but to save your soul from things smaller than your true destiny. You will realize that what I took away cannot compare with what I have prepared to give back. The fire did not destroy you, it rebirthed you. The parts within you that were once broken will no longer be signs of shame, but will become the very places where my light shines through most powerfully. Just as the art of kintsugi uses gold to mend a cracked vessel, I am using my glory to heal your soul. And then the place that was once a wound will become a testimony. The place that once made you cry will become a source of comfort for those who are lost in darkness. Just as you once were, this is also a season of restoration. I am breathing new breath into the places within you that had withered because of disappointment and delay. There are dreams you buried deep because you thought they had died. There are parts of your heart that stopped hoping because they had been hurt too many times. But I am the God who makes dry bones live again. When the prophet Ezekiel saw the valley full of dry bones, everything seemed completely finished. But the moment my breath passed through, the bones began to come together. Flesh came upon them, and life returned. Beloved child, I am also breathing life into the places you thought were dead in your life. And what I restore will not merely return as it was, it will become deeper, stronger, and more enduring than before. After this storm, I am repositioning you. You will no longer live without direction, pulled along by the opinions of others or by the need to prove yourself. I am placing you in the right position within the plan of my kingdom, where your experiences, wounds, gifts, and even your painful seasons come together as instruments in my hands. You will begin to understand who you are in me, no longer trying to become the version the world wants you to be, no longer chasing recognition in order to feel valuable, for we are His workmanship, created in Christ. As Ephesians 2:10 says, you are not the product of what once happened to you. You are a masterpiece being completed by my own hands. When I reposition you, peace will begin to guide your soul. The things that once confused you will become clearer. The voices that once disturbed your mind will gradually lose their strength. You will stop chasing doors that open through haste and anxiety, because what comes from me always carries a deep peace within it. You will no longer need to prove yourself before others. My presence upon your life will speak for itself. And then, as you walk in this new season, people will not only see someone who survived trials, they will see a soul that walked through the fire with me and came out with the light of heaven burning within. Beloved child, one of the greatest signs that you are stepping into a true season of restoration is the clarity that begins to appear within your soul. The things that once left you confused will slowly begin to make sense. You will look back on the years when you cried in loneliness and realize that I never removed my hand from your life. Not even for a moment. There were times when you thought the collapse was the end. But in truth, it was the way I tore down foundations that were not strong enough to support the future I had ordained for you. There were people who left your life and made your heart feel as though it had been torn apart. But one day you will understand that if they had stayed, they would have hindered your steps from the path I was preparing. Not every separation is a loss. Some departures are deliverance that you were not yet clear enough to recognize at first. I am showing you the larger picture of your life. Before, you only saw scattered broken pieces of failure here, a wound there, a door closing in the moment you felt most desperate. But now, I am bringing those pieces together before your eyes so that you may see that nothing happened outside my permission. Even the seasons that seemed most meaningless were quietly preparing you for the place where you stand today. Just as Joseph looked back at the pit, the prison, and the betrayal of his brothers, and could finally say, "You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good." Beloved child, one day you will be able to say the same, for there are things you can only understand after you have walked the whole road. And only then will you see why I did not allow you to return to the old path. And along with that clarity, I am pouring into your soul a peace deeper than every passing emotion. This is not the kind of peace that comes because everything has become perfect. It comes from knowing that I am still seated on the throne of your life. The world is always seeking peace by trying to control circumstances. But I am teaching you to find peace by trusting me in the midst of circumstances that are not yet perfect. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. As John 14:27 says, "My peace is not fragile like the joy of the world. It is like an underground river that continues to flow powerfully beneath the earth, even when storms sweep across the surface." And as that peace grows within you, the noise of anxiety will no longer be able to control your mind so easily. You will begin to recognize the whisper of the Holy Spirit more clearly than ever before. The things that once confused you will become simpler in my presence. I no longer want your life to be led by pressure or fear. I want every decision you make to become a joyful partnership between your soul and heaven. There are doors you will no longer need to forcefully knock on, because I will close them with my peace. And there are paths I will open that you will recognize within your soul, even before anyone confirms them with words. When you walk close enough to me, peace will become the guardian of your mind better than any certainty the world can offer. Beloved child, in this season of restoration, I am not only giving back what you have lost, I am giving you a new identity. Before, you defined yourself by failure, by wounds, by the things others said about you. But I have never called you by those names. I call you according to what I have seen in you since the beginning of creation. What you once considered failure, I am turning into wisdom. What you once considered loss, I am turning into seed for a new harvest. What you once thought was the end is becoming a doorway into a greater destiny. Just as Peter once trembled before a servant girl, but later stood up and preached before the crowd, I am also transforming you from within. You will no longer live as a soul that always bows its head beneath shame. I am teaching you to walk with the humble confidence of one who knows they belong to me. Do not rush out of this process simply because you have begun to feel better. There are souls who want quick recovery but do not want deep healing. I am different. I am not patching up your life only for it to crack again when another storm comes. I am rebuilding you from the very foundation. Therefore, allow me to complete what I have begun. He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion until the day of Jesus Christ. As Philippians 1:6 says, no step in this journey is meaningless. Even the quiet spaces are preparing your soul for something greater. When you stand in the place I have appointed for you, everything will begin to flow according to a different rhythm. It will no longer be about straining just to survive. My life will flow through you naturally, like water finding its path. You will no longer need to chase human recognition, because your soul has been anchored in the approval of heaven. And then you will understand that the true sign of a season of restoration is not that you have more than before, but that your soul has come into harmony with the rhythm of my heart. But beloved child, this season of holy transformation does not end with personal healing. It blossoms into being sent. I did not bring you through the fire merely so you could survive. I brought you through the fire so you could become a light for those who are walking in darkness. Light was not created to be hidden. When I illuminate your soul, I am preparing to place you where that light can guide others. The tears you once shed will help you understand the silent cries of other souls. The seasons of loneliness you once endured will teach you how to embrace those who feel forgotten. And when you speak about hope, your words will carry the weight of real experience, not merely knowledge. Remember the woman who suffered from the issue of blood for 12 years? After she was healed, she did not merely receive her health back. She became a living testimony of my power in the midst of the crowd. So it is with you. What I heal within you will become a stream of healing for others. You cannot lead anyone to a place you have never walked through. So I allowed you to pass through the fire, through the dark night, through seasons that seemed to have no hope left. And now, as you rise with my light within you, your life will speak to weary souls and say, if I have done it for you, I can also do it for them. Therefore, do not take lightly the journey you have walked through. No wound is meaningless in my hands. No season of tears is forgotten in heaven. I am turning all things into glory. And as you continue walking in this new season, you will no longer be only someone who was once rescued from darkness. You will become one who carries light into the very places where others are desperately searching for a way out. Beloved child, I did not draw you out of darkness merely so you could stand up again and continue living for yourself. I lifted you up so that, through your life, others may also find hope. There are scars you once tried to hide because you thought they were signs of failure. But in my eyes, they are evidence that grace is still stronger than what tried to destroy you. The places that once made you feel ashamed will now become the very places where my power is revealed most clearly. Just as I allowed Thomas to touch the nail marks in my hands after the resurrection, I did not hide my wounds. I used them to restore the faith of another. So it is with you. The things you have survived will become a testimony that lets desperate souls know they have not been forgotten. Every tear you once shed in silence has been kept by me. There was no night when you cried that heaven did not listen. And now, those tears will no longer be only painful memories. I am turning them into streams of water that refresh the dry souls around you. The prayers you once whispered when no one understood you will now become a call that awakens those who are sleeping in fear and despair. You once thought you were only trying to survive a painful season, but in truth, I was preparing you to be sent. For the one who has never passed through the dark night will find it hard to understand the value of the dawn. And the one who has never needed mercy will find it hard to offer mercy to others with true gentleness. This is the season for you to step out of hiding, no longer shrinking back because you fear being wounded, no longer making the light within you smaller so that others may feel more comfortable. The light I placed in you was not meant to be hidden beneath fear, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand. As Matthew 5:15 says, beloved child, the light you carry does not belong to you. It belongs to me. And I did not illuminate your soul only to let it fade away in the dark corner of shame and insecurity. I am placing within you a flame that can guide those who are lost, words that can break the chains of despair, and love that can touch hearts that have gone far too long without believing they are worthy of healing. But remember this deeply in your heart. I do not send you because you are perfect. If I only used those who no longer had weaknesses, no one would be qualified to stand before me. I choose you because you know how to kneel. I choose you because after all the times you were broken, you learned how to hold my hand instead of relying only on your own strength. When Moses stood before the burning bush, he kept saying that he was not capable, that he was slow of speech. But I was not looking for the confidence of the flesh in him. I was looking for a heart willing to surrender. And that same man who once trembled in fear became the one who led an entire nation through the Red Sea. Beloved child, I will do the same with you. As you walk in the calling I have given you, I will open a way where there seems to be no path. I will give you words when your lips tremble. I will provide even when your hands are empty. For what I begin, I, myself, will complete. Do not be surprised when there are people who do not understand you in this new season. There are souls that can only understand what is level with the place where they are standing. And when I lift you into a deeper knowledge of me, not everyone will be ready to walk with you. Do not be heartbroken because of that. An eagle was not born to live forever among chickens that are afraid of the sky. There are places I am calling you into that require the courage to be different. The faithfulness to keep walking, even when no one is cheering you on. But you are not alone. Those who are set apart often have to pass through seasons where no one understands them before another generation recognizes the light they carry. I am sending you to awaken souls that have slept for far too long in compromise, in fear, and in despair, not through condemnation, but through the light of a life that has been transformed. People will not only hear the words you speak, they will feel my presence through the way you love, forgive, and stand firm in adversity. And then they will understand that when I restore a soul, I do not merely lift it up from the ashes. I turn it into an instrument to pull others out of darkness. But beloved child, every new season requires a deeper surrender. You cannot step into the new thing I have prepared while still trying to hold control with your trembling hands. Many people want my blessings but do not want to release the throne in their hearts. They want me to heal them but still allow fear to govern their decisions. They want me to lead the way but still grip the steering wheel of their lives. You cannot carry two kingdoms in one heart. Either I am king, or you will remain exhausted from trying to save yourself. Surrender does not make you weaker. My child, it frees you from the burden of having to become your own savior. There have been nights when you stayed awake trying to find answers for every upheaval, trying to keep everything from collapsing, trying to control things beyond your ability. But your soul was not created to carry that weight. Cast all your anxiety on Him, because He cares for you. As 1 Peter 5:7 says, when you surrender, you are not losing the battle. You are laying the burden down at my feet, and my shoulders never grow weary. Remember Peter when he stepped out of the boat onto the water. As long as his eyes remained fixed on me, he could still walk amid the waves and winds. But when he looked at the storm, fear began to pull him down. Beloved child, many times, what causes you to sink is not the strength of the storm, but the fact that you forget to look at me. Therefore, in this new season, I am teaching you to live in daily surrender. Not surrender with reluctance, but with trust. Not like someone being forced, but like a child who knows that their father is good. And then you will understand that the safest place is not the place without trials, but the place where my presence is. When you allow me to reign completely in your heart, peace will replace pressure, faith will replace fear, and light will become stronger than every darkness that once threatened your soul. Then your life will no longer be a battle merely to survive. It will become the flow of a soul that has stopped resisting my hand and has begun to move in harmony with the heartbeat of heaven. Beloved child, I know there have been seasons when you held tightly to everything simply because you feared that if you let go, you would have nothing left to hold on to. You feared losing control because your life had been through too many unexpected things that wounded your heart. You feared being abandoned because there were times when the very people you trusted most turned their backs on you. And there were nights when you forced yourself to be strong simply because you did not know who would still stand with you if you became weak. But hear me deeply in your soul today. I have never called any child to surrender and then abandon them halfway. No one truly loses when they entrust their life to me. What you place in my hands will not be destroyed. I will purify it and return it to you in a form that is cleaner, freer, and more full of life. Surrender is not giving up hope or sitting still in despair. Surrender is the mature trust of a soul that knows, even when it does not yet understand the road ahead, I am still guiding every step. It is when you say to me, Father, I cannot see the way, but I will still walk because I know you are there. There are things you will never understand with your reasoning until you are brave enough to walk by faith. When Peter stepped out of the boat onto the sea, he had no map except the word I spoke, come, and that word alone was enough for the water to hold him up. Beloved child, I am also calling you to step out of the boat of control and into the waters where only faith can keep you standing firm. When you stop trying to hold everything together with your trembling hands, you will realize that my hand has been there holding you up for a very long time. Be still and know that I am God. As Psalm 46:10 says, is not an invitation for you to live passively. It is a word that frees you from the battle of having to carry the whole world on your shoulders by yourself. There are battles that are not won by shouting or striving, but by resting in me. There are doors that do not open because you keep forcing them, but open when you trust enough to wait for heaven's timing. I am teaching you the strength of holy stillness, the place where the soul stops panicking and begins to hear the rhythm of my heartbeat clearly. Therefore, beloved child, release from your hands the things that are making your heart heavy. Release the need to always be right. Release the obsession with being recognized by others. Release the plans you have built only to make yourself feel safe. There are souls who ask me to lead the way but still insist on gripping the steering wheel of their own lives. How can I lift you higher when your heart is still anchored to the ground of fear? I cannot pour new wine into a vessel already filled with old anxieties. I cannot sow new life into a place still occupied by bitterness, resentment, and the need to control everything. Remember the rich young man who came to ask me about eternal life. He wanted to follow me, but he could not let go of what he clung to most. And in the end, the very thing he held too tightly kept him from stepping into a greater freedom. Beloved child, I do not take things from you to make you poorer. I remove what is preventing you from receiving something better. There are things that look like safety, but in truth, they are keeping your soul smaller than the destiny I have prepared for you. True surrender is when you choose love instead of retaliation. Even though your heart has been hurt, it is when you choose silence before insults instead of trying to prove yourself. It is when you choose to trust my word more than what your emotions are screaming in your mind. And then you will discover something wonderful in me. You lose nothing. I only take from you the chains you once mistook as part of yourself. I free you from the pressure to be perfect, from the fear of rejection, from the endless thirst of seeking your worth in the eyes of people. And when those burdens fall away, your soul will begin to grow light, like a bird finally learning how to fly in the current of heaven. You will stop striving to prove yourself. You will stop living in constant vigilance, afraid of being wounded again. I will lead you into deep rest, not the rest of laziness, but the rest of a soul that knows its Father is ruling over all things. Then the things I have ordained for you will open naturally, like dawn after a long night. You will no longer have to force any door. What comes from me will carry my peace with it. And now, you are standing at the threshold of a new season. This is not merely a small change in circumstance, but a spiritual transition where heaven and earth begin to meet upon your life. There are things that have been delayed for far too long that are now being moved forward by heaven's timing. There are parts of you that were once suffocated by fear and disappointment that I am now breathing life into again. Behold, I make all things new. As Revelation 21:5 says, is no longer a distant promise. It is beginning to become reality within your very soul. This is a season of holy reversal. The places that once rejected you will become places where I exalt you. The things that once worked against you will begin to serve my purpose for your life. Remember Esther, the orphan girl who once lived in obscurity. But at the appointed time, I brought her into the palace to save an entire people. Beloved child, I am also positioning you for your appointed time. There were years that seemed meaningless, but in truth, they were a hidden preparation for the hour when I would reveal what I had placed within you from the beginning. Do not be afraid of the shaking you feel in your spirit right now. It is not a sign of chaos, it is a sign of movement. A new season always begins with me shaking the old things in order to make way for the new to enter. But you no longer need to carry the baggage of the old season with you. Let the past remain where it belongs. You cannot walk lightly into the future if your shoulders are still burdened with old memories, shame, and disappointments. Step into this new season with faith, gratitude, and surrender. Faith to keep walking even when your eyes cannot yet see clearly. Gratitude to remember that every good thing is a grace I have given. And surrender so that I may be free to move in your life without being hindered by fear. Do not worry if you do not yet understand everything that is happening. My new seasons often begin in the midst of uncertainty, because I want your faith to mature before your eyes see the result. You do not need to see the whole road. You only need to keep your eyes on me, just as the people of Israel followed the pillar of cloud by day and the pillar of fire by night. Their steps were guided not by knowing the entire future, but by my presence going before them. Beloved child, I am also going before you right now. I am renewing your mind so that old thoughts no longer rule over you. I am renewing your soul so that the place that was once dry may now become a spring of living water. And I am renewing the path beneath your feet so that every step you take may move in harmony with the heartbeat of heaven, lighter, clearer, and more full of life than ever before. Beloved child, you are now standing before a sacred boundary where the old season closes and the new season of heaven opens right before your eyes. These are no longer the days when your soul merely endured silently in the darkness. This is no longer the long period of waiting that seemed endless. I am breathing a new breath into your life, and the places that were once dry are beginning to tremble with life. There are things within you that have slept for far too long beneath the ashes of disappointment. But now I am calling them to awaken. Just as when I stood before the tomb of Lazarus and said, "Come forth," life pierced through the place that seemed completely finished. Beloved child, I am also calling the parts within you that seemed dead to step back into the light. The dreams that were once buried, the gifts that were once locked away by fear, the prayers you thought heaven had remained silent toward, all of them are beginning to move under my power. You are no longer in the same place. Your body may still be standing in the same circumstances, but your soul has already begun to enter a new land. I know there were years when you sowed in tears, prayed in silence, and fought in loneliness. There were nights when you wondered whether the seeds you planted would ever sprout. But those who sow in tears shall reap in joy. As Psalm 126:5 says, "Beloved child, the season of sowing has been completed, and now I am bringing you into the season of harvest. Not only a harvest of material things or circumstances, but a harvest of restoration, clarity, and joy that no one can take from you. The things that were once delayed are beginning to move, according to heaven's timing. There are doors that seemed permanently closed that will now open at the time I have appointed. There are petitions you once whispered in loneliness that will now be revealed in the light of day, not so that you may be exalted by people, but so that they may see my faithfulness upon your life. This is not only a season in which I change the circumstances around you, this is a season in which I change you. I am awakening the gifts that once slept beneath the dust of shame and fear. There are words I placed in your mouth that you have never dared to speak. There are things I placed in your heart that you once thought were too great for you. But I did not create you to live forever in self-diminishment. I am restoring the voice that fear had silenced. I am placing you back into your rightful position in my eternal plan. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. As Jeremiah 1:5 says, your destiny did not begin with failure, nor does it end with pain. It began in my heart before you were ever born. You will begin to feel a new stirring within your soul, no longer the feeling of merely trying to survive each day, but the desire to live according to what I have called you to become. There are things that once frightened you that will no longer hold the same power. There are doors you once hesitated to walk through that I will now give you the courage to enter. For this new season is not built by your own strength, but by the power of my Spirit, not by might, nor by power, but by my Spirit. As Zechariah 4:9 says, you do not need to become perfect before you walk forward. You only need to be willing. Therefore, beloved child, step in. Open your heart wide before the new wind of the Holy Spirit. Do not keep looking back at the place I have already called finished. Lot's wife became a pillar of salt because her heart remained trapped in the city I had commanded her to leave. You also cannot step into the future if your heart is still anchored in the past. Release from your hands what I have already ended. Let the old seasons rest, for what is ahead of you is far greater than what is behind you. Let me renew your mind, so that old thoughts no longer rule over your soul. Let me heal your memories, so that the past no longer defines your worth. Let me renew the road you walk, so that every step you take moves with the rhythm of heaven instead of the hurried rhythm of the world. I am repainting the picture of your life with the colors of my glory. There are old strokes I will erase. There are dark spaces I will cover with light. And then, when you look back, you will realize that even the parts that once seemed most chaotic were being arranged by my hand into something beautiful. Beloved child, do not doubt this season simply because it comes differently from what you imagined. Heaven does not always move in the way people expect. Sometimes rebirth begins with a silence. Sometimes a miracle begins with a very small whisper in the soul. But when I move, no one can stop what I have ordained. This is no longer a distant promise. This is a declaration from the throne of heaven over your life. It is time. And then you will understand that this season of holy transformation is not only so you can see miracles happening around you. I am making you into a miracle. Your life will become a testimony that I still renew weary souls, still restore those who thought they were too broken, still call light to rise in the darkest places. Others will look at you and see not a perfect person, but a soul that has walked through the fire with me and come out with the light of heaven burning brightly within. Beloved child, this world has grown so accustomed to darkness that many people no longer recognize they are walking astray. They call chaos freedom, temporary satisfaction, happiness, and the voice of emotion, the final truth. People want to live without limits, without guidance, without anyone having the right to say what is right or wrong. But when the soul separates itself from the true source of light, it does not become freer, it only becomes more lost. A boat without a compass may think it can go wherever it wants, but in the end, it is only carried by the waves to an unintended place. So it is with the human soul. When people place themselves on the throne of their lives, the light within them begins to fade without them even realizing it. If the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? As Matthew 6:23 says, the most dangerous thing is not darkness that is clearly seen, but darkness pretending to be light. Look, my child, at how this age has learned to decorate emptiness. People call dependence success. They chase the applause of the crowd. Yet at night, they cannot rest peacefully with themselves. They live amid countless connections, yet their souls grow more and more lonely. They think they are moving forward because everything around them is becoming faster, brighter, and louder. But within, they are gradually losing spiritual direction. The darkness of this age does not always come through obvious evil. Many times, it comes through things that make people feel comfortable. It lulls the soul to sleep through constant distraction. It keeps people so busy that they no longer have time to listen to the deepest voice within their hearts. And then, little by little, they begin to forget who they are, what they were created for, and what their souls are truly thirsting for. Beloved child, the most cunning darkness is the darkness that knows how to dress itself as light. It makes people think they are living true to themselves, when in reality, they are only becoming slaves to desires that are never satisfied. It makes them believe that, without me, they can still heal themselves, save themselves, and define truth according to their own feelings. But the human soul was not created to live apart from the Creator. A branch cannot survive on its own if it is cut off from the root. Apart from me, you can do nothing. As John 15:5 says, is not a threat, but the truth of life. When people try to fill their spiritual emptiness with money, recognition, pleasure, or power, they only become thirstier. For there is an emptiness in the soul that only my light can fill. I know there are times when you also feel yourself being pulled into that rhythm of life, the rhythm that makes you compare yourself with others, that makes you think your worth depends on what you achieve, who recognizes you, or whether you are perfect enough in the eyes of the world. But beloved child, you are not a product of this society. You were not born to keep running in the world's endless race. I breathed my breath of life into you from the beginning. You are a work of heaven, not the accidental result of a chaotic world. And for that very reason, your soul will never truly be at peace if it lives far from the source of my light. Remember Elijah when he fled into the wilderness because he was exhausted and afraid. He thought he was alone, thought everything had come to an end. But I did not meet him in the noise of the strong wind or the earthquake. I came in a still, gentle whisper. Beloved child, I am also calling you to pause in the midst of this noisy world. Pause to hear the breath of the Spirit. Pause so your soul may stop being stretched by the pressure to become what the world wants. There are truths that can only be heard in silence. There are healings that only happen when you stop running from yourself and allow me to sit with you in stillness. You were not created to dissolve into the crowd until you lose the unique light I have placed within you. A lamp is not lit only to be covered beneath layers of fear and compromise. I placed you in this age not to be swallowed by darkness, but to reflect light in the darkest places. But you cannot shine if your own soul is exhausted from being far from me. That is why I am calling you back. Not back to outward religion, but back to my living presence. Back to the place where your soul can breathe. Be healed, and remember who you truly are. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. As Matthew 11:28 says, the world promises you freedom, but leaves you exhausted. I invite you into surrender and give you peace. The world makes you feel that you must always prove your worth. I say that your worth was already established by my love before you ever accomplished anything. The world teaches you to hide your weakness. I teach you that in that very place of weakness, my power is revealed more fully. Therefore, beloved child, pause long enough for your soul to perceive the light. Let me wash clean your spiritual eyes that have grown weary from too many false images of the world. Let me remove from your shoulders the pressure to be like everyone around you. You are not called to be like the crowd. You are called to be like me. And when you remain close to the true light, you will begin to see everything differently. The things that once attracted you will gradually lose their pull. The noises that once made you anxious will grow quieter, and deep within your soul, you will feel a new life rising, gentle yet powerful, quiet yet full of glory. I am still the light of the world, and that light has never gone out. You need only return. You need only open your heart once more, and you will see that even in the midst of this chaotic age, heaven is still calling your name with a love that has never changed. Beloved child, it is time for your soul to awaken from the sleep that has lasted far too long. There are people who still open their eyes every morning, still move through life, still smile and speak as they always have. Yet inwardly, their souls are sleeping deeply in darkness without even realizing it. They are swept along by the current of the world until they forget the deepest calling within their hearts. And the most dangerous thing is not darkness that is clearly seen, but when darkness is covered with dazzling lights that make people believe they are living in the light. The world promises you freedom, but what it gives is only a false version of freedom. Freedom to chase desire, freedom to do whatever one wants for a moment, only to finally become a slave to the very emptiness within. But true freedom is not found in doing whatever you want. True freedom is when your soul is no longer chained by fear, shame, and lies. If the sun sets you free, you will be free indeed. As John 8:36 says, open your spiritual eyes, beloved child, for darkness only has power over a soul that has not realized it is asleep. Once my light touches it, the chains begin to fall. The things that once frightened you will gradually lose their strength. The lies that once echoed in your mind as though they were truth will be exposed beneath the light of the Spirit. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. As 2 Corinthians 3:17 says, I am not calling you to awaken only so you can see the darkness around you. I am calling you to awaken so you can remember that you belong to the light. But understand this, the moment you decide to leave spiritual slumber is also the moment you step into a deeper battle. Not a battle fought with force or with the arguments of the flesh, but an invisible battle between truth and lies. There are people who think they are fighting their circumstances, other people, or fate. But in truth, the greatest battle always takes place in the mind, for the mind is the gateway of the soul. If the enemy can plant lies there and make you believe they are true, darkness will begin to take root without you even realizing it. The enemy rarely comes with the frightening face you imagine. It comes through small whispers. You are not good enough. You will never change. No one truly loves you. You are too damaged to be saved. And if you listen long enough, those words will build strongholds in your mind. They begin to define the way you see yourself, the way you see others, and even the way you see me. That is why many souls still live in chains, even though the prison door has long been open. They have believed the lie more than my truth. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. As Ephesians 6:12 says, beloved child, the battle you are going through is not merely a passing emotion. There are unseen forces that want to keep your soul in fear, shame, and confusion so that you forget who you truly are. They know that if you truly recognize your identity in me, many chains will break at once. That is why they try to make you doubt your worth, doubt my calling, and even doubt my love for you. But today, I want you to hear my voice louder than every other voice. You do not belong to darkness. You were not created to live under condemnation and slavery. You are a son, a daughter of the light. Remember the people of Israel when they were delivered from Egypt. Though their bodies had left the land of slavery, their minds still carried the old chains. As soon as they faced difficulty in the wilderness, they wanted to return to the very place that had once held them captive. Beloved child, many times the hardest thing is not leaving the darkness, but allowing the darkness to leave your mind. That is the work I am doing within you. I am tearing down every stronghold of lies that the years have built inside you. At times, you may feel pain when I touch your deepest thoughts, but I do not do this to condemn you. I do it to set you free. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds. As 2 Corinthians 10:4 says, your weapons are not anger, argument, or trying to prove that you are strong. Your weapon is truth. Every time you choose to believe my word more than the voice of fear, one brick in the old stronghold falls down. Every time you forgive instead of nurturing resentment, the chain grows weaker. Every time you kneel in prayer instead of surrendering to despair, light floods into the place where darkness once ruled. Beloved child, do not be afraid when the battle in your mind becomes more intense after you begin to awaken. The enemy always resists most fiercely when he knows he is losing control. But remember that you are not fighting alone. When David faced Goliath, everyone saw only a boy standing before a giant. But David knew he did not step onto the battlefield in his own strength. He carried my presence with him, and the very thing the world saw as weakness became the place where my power was revealed. So it is with you. Do not look at your smallness and tremble before the negative thoughts attacking you. Even the smallest light is still enough to make darkness retreat. I am calling you to awaken, not so you may live in panic, but so you may live with discernment. One who is awake is no longer easily led away by every voice around them. They know how to distinguish what comes from me and what comes from fear. They no longer believe that every thought appearing in their mind is truth. And that is where true freedom begins. Therefore, beloved child, let your mind be renewed by my word. Do not nourish the voices that make your soul shrink back in shame and despair. Nourish truth. Let my light go deep into every corner of your mind until every lie is exposed. And then you will discover that the greatest battle is not to become someone else, but to remember who you truly are in me. You are loved. You are redeemed. You are called out of darkness into my marvelous light. And when you truly believe this with your whole soul, no power will be able to imprison you as it once did. Beloved child, there are battles no one sees except me. There is no sound of swords clashing, no crowd watching, no one knowing how fiercely your soul has had to fight through long, sleepless nights. There are times when you lie down in the darkness of your room, yet your mind is filled with the noise of memories, shame, and questions that keep circling through your heart without rest. You remember old mistakes and wonder why you were so weak. You look at the unfinished parts of yourself and quietly doubt whether you are truly worthy of being loved. But beloved child, it is in those very moments that I am nearer to you than you realize. I am not sitting there counting your failures. I am not looking at you with the eyes of accusation, the way you often condemn yourself. I stand beside you to remind you that the greatest battle has already been completed on the cross. You are not fighting to earn my love. You do not have to struggle desperately to be accepted in heaven. There is therefore now no condemnation for those who are in Christ. As Romans 8:1 says, what I want you to learn is not to live like someone always trying to achieve victory, but to live like someone who knows that victory already belongs to them in me. The enemy wants you to forget this. He wants your eyes fixed only on your own failures so that you can no longer see grace. He wants you to remember every time you fell, but forget that every time you rose again, heaven rejoiced because you did not give up. Remember Peter after he denied me 3 times. The enemy wanted him to believe that this failure had ended everything I had ever called him to do. But I did not call Peter by his mistake. I called him by his destiny. After the resurrection, I found him again beside the sea, not to crush him with shame, but to restore him with love. Beloved child, I am doing the same with you. Perhaps you have fallen Perhaps you have had days of weakness and wandering, but your failure does not have the final voice. My grace is what defines you. Every time you believe the lie that you are worthless, darkness gains more ground in your mind. But every time you choose to believe the truth, light begins to flood in and chains begin to fall. You do not realize how much power the words you speak over yourself carry. When you declare, "I am a child of God," hell can no longer keep holding you in your old identity of slavery. When you say, "I am forgiven," accusation loses its power. When you say, "I will not live in fear," invisible chains begin to crack. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. As Proverbs 18:21 says, "For words joined with faith become instruments of light." Beloved child, understand how darkness works so that you will no longer be surprised by the battles in your mind. The enemy rarely comes with obvious force. He comes through persuasion. He plants a small thought, then waits for you to agree with it. He whispers that you have been forgotten. He says you will never change. He makes you believe that everyone else is more worthy of healing than you. And if you continue to nourish those thoughts, they will take root like weeds in your soul. But a lie is only strong while it remains in darkness. Once the light of truth shines upon it, it begins to lose its power. That is why I am teaching you spiritual alertness. Not alertness rooted in fear, but in discernment. A soul that is awake learns to pause before every thought and ask, "Does this come from the Father's love?" If that thought pulls you away from hope, from peace, and from my truth, do not let it build a home in your mind. Bring it into the light. Take every thought captive to obey Christ. As 2 Corinthians 10:5 says, "You are not a slave to every thought that appears in your mind." You have the authority to choose what will remain in your soul. There are dark places within your heart that you have avoided for too long because you were afraid to face them. But, beloved child, healing always begins with truth. When I shine my light into the places, you still hide the unhealed wounds, the unnamed fears, the scars from the past. I do not do it to shame you. I do it to set you free. For wherever light enters, darkness can no longer continue to rule. And remember this, spiritual victory does not always begin with great miracles as people imagine. Many times, it begins with very small choices that no one sees. When you choose to forgive, even though your heart still hurts, heaven calls that victory. When you choose to pray instead of sinking into despair, hell trembles. When you choose to trust my word more than your feelings, chains begin to break. When you stand firm, even while tears are still falling, you are testifying that light is stronger than darkness. Remember Paul and Silas in prison. They were beaten, chained, and locked in darkness. But instead of allowing their circumstances to define their souls, they lifted their voices in praise. And right in the middle of that darkness, the prison foundation shook, the chains fell, and the doors opened. Beloved child, there are doors in your life that will not open through your own strength or the resistance of the flesh. They open when your soul chooses to stand on the side of light while everything is still dark. Therefore, do not underestimate the small choices you make each day. Every time you choose hope instead of despair, you are winning. Every time you choose love instead of bitterness, you are winning. Every time you kneel in prayer instead of surrendering to fear, you are causing darkness to lose its power over your life. Beloved child, I have not called you to become someone who has never fought. I have called you to become someone who knows how to stand firm in truth in the midst of the battle. And as you continue walking with your eyes fixed on me, you will discover that true power is not found in never falling, but in rising again in my light every time you fall. Beloved child, Darkness always trembles before true love. The destroyer does not grow strong through real power, but through fear, bitterness, and division that it sows into human hearts. It knows that when a soul is filled with resentment, the light will gradually grow dim. It knows that when you live in anger and retaliation, you will begin to reflect darkness instead of reflecting me. But every time you choose love instead of hatred, heaven records it as a victory greater than you realize. Every time you forgive while your heart is still hurting, invisible chains begin to break. Every time you pray for the one who wounded you instead of cursing them, darkness loses its place within your soul. You may think you are only being silent and continuing to walk forward, but in the spiritual realm, your light is burning brightly. There are battles won not by the shouting of the flesh, but by the peace of a soul that refuses to let darkness control its heart. When Stephen was being stoned, he did not answer those who were killing him with hatred. He lifted his eyes to heaven and asked me to forgive them. And in that very moment, the light of heaven shone more powerfully than all the cruelty around him. Beloved child, the destroyer cannot endure that kind of light, because true love always breaks the power of darkness. Remember that the enemy's greatest goal is not only to make you stumble, it wants to steal your joy, your peace, and the deep fellowship between you and me. It knows that if it can make you doubt my love for you, you will begin building walls that keep you away from grace. It whispers that you have been abandoned. It makes you think I have grown weary of your weaknesses. But beloved child, no lie is strong enough to change the truth that I still love you with an everlasting love. I have loved you with an everlasting love. As Jeremiah 31:3 says, that love does not waver according to your failures or emotions. It stands firm, just as my very nature stands firm. Therefore, rise in the light of your identity. Do not continue living like someone trying to find worth in the world. Declare with your whole soul that you belong to the light. When you say, I am a child of God, darkness can no longer define you by your past. When you declare that my love is stronger than accusation, hell loses its power to imprison you in shame. There are battles won simply by refusing to agree with the lie one more time. When you walk in truth, the traps that once caused you to stumble will begin to lose their power, not because the enemy stops attacking, but because the light within you leaves him no place to hide. I am teaching you to see with spiritual eyes. There are people who have wounded you, but behind their harshness are souls also bound by darkness. That does not make what they did right, but it helps you understand that the true battle is not against flesh and blood, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. As Ephesians 6:12 says, when you realize this, you will learn how to fight without being poisoned by hatred. You will know how to stand firm in truth without needing to wound others in order to prove that you are right. Beloved child, do not fear the darkness. The light within you does not come from your own strength, but from me. Even a small candle is enough to keep the darkest room from belonging completely to the night. And I have placed more than a candle within you. I have placed within you the spirit of life. Therefore, no plan of the destroyer can overcome the plan that heaven ordained for you before the foundation of the world. You may go through trials. There may be seasons of fierce battle within your mind, but that does not mean darkness will win. It only means that the light within you is becoming more dangerous to the darkness. I have placed within you the strength to overcome, not the strength of pride or hardness, but the strength of faith, love, and obedience. Faith helps you stand firm when your eyes have not yet seen the answer. Love keeps your heart from becoming hardened by pain, and obedience keeps you close to me, even when you do not yet understand the road ahead. That is the kind of power hell cannot imitate. But now, you need to understand something even deeper. Awakening alone is not enough. There are people who see the darkness and understand the spiritual battle, yet still live in chains because they do not walk in truth. Awakening without truth will exhaust the soul because it sees danger everywhere, and knowledge without the guidance of the Spirit will become the cold burden of theory. I am not calling you merely to know about the light. I am calling you to live in that light. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. As John 8:32 says, true freedom is not found in accumulating more spiritual knowledge, but in allowing truth to begin living within you. There are people who speak much about faith, yet their minds remain full of fear because they have not truly allowed truth to touch the deepest place of their hearts. I want truth to be not only on your lips, but to become the very breath of your soul. When the Holy Spirit guides you, truth will no longer be dry words. It will become light for every step you take. It will teach you when to speak and when to remain silent. It will help you discern between the accusation of darkness and my loving correction. It will lead you into a freedom no one can take away, freedom from shame, from fear, and from the need to prove yourself before the world. Beloved child, true freedom is not doing everything you want. True freedom is when your soul is no longer controlled by the darkness within, and wherever my Spirit is free to move, chains will fall, light will rise, and your soul will begin to live exactly as I intended from the very first moment I called your name. Beloved child, if today you feel lost, do not try to calculate everything in panic. Return to peace. Return to me. Sit in my presence until your heart grows still like a lake after the wind has passed. For I am still there, waiting for you with eyes that do not condemn, with open hands, and with a love that has never changed. And as you continue walking in the soft light of this new day, you will realize that the most precious thing is not what you finally achieve, but that your soul has learned how to live in nearness to me. There, every fear gradually melts away. There, you stop striving to be loved, because you know you have already been loved from the beginning. And there, beloved child, you will truly be free. Beloved child, I am teaching you the holy art of waiting. The world makes you think that slowness is failure, that if you do not run fast enough, you will be left behind. But in my kingdom, many of the most precious things always grow in silence and time. A seed does not hurry to break through the soil. The sun does not rise in panic. Spring does not come with loud noise. Everything I created moves in the peaceful rhythm of heaven. Therefore, my child, when I allow you to wait, it is not abandonment, it is formation. There are seasons when I keep you where you are, not because I do not want to give what you have asked for, but because I am bringing your soul into harmony with my rhythm. The impatient often try to force a door open before it's time, and then they are wounded by what they were not yet mature enough to carry. But the one who knows how to wait and trust will receive what I have promised with peaceful hands. As it is written in Isaiah 40:31, those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. Beloved child, waiting with me does not drain you, it deepens you. When you wait in peace, you are allowing me to do what you cannot do by your own strength. There are battles that are not won by striving, but by surrender. There are doors that do not open by forceful pushing, but by the right timing I have appointed. Look at the moon. It does not worry about whether it will rise in time. Look at the flowers of the field. They do not wake each morning afraid that they will not bloom at the right moment. And Jesus said that if I care for the flowers and grass in such a way, how much more will I care for you, the child I love, with an everlasting love. My child, learn to live more slowly in my presence. Not slowly because of fear, but because you know that what I have prepared for you cannot be taken away by time or by people. There are weary souls who are tired not because they carry too many responsibilities, but because they are always running faster than the rhythm of grace. But I did not create you to live in constant haste. I want each day of your life to become a meeting place between earth and heaven. When you eat with gratitude, I am there. When you sit still and listen to the rain, I am there. When you work with a sincere heart, I am there. There are people who search for me in places too far away, forgetting that I am still present in the very small things around their lives. Just as the two disciples on the road to Emmaus recognized Jesus when he broke the bread, there will be moments when you recognize me in the simplest things. The smell of freshly baked bread, the evening light falling on the window, the warmth of your hand resting on your chest when you are tired. All of these can become places where heaven touches you if your heart knows how to see with the eyes of presence. When I say to you, go, do not think it is a cold command pushing you into the unknown. Every word of calling I speak carries the promise that I have already gone before you. Jesus once said, I am the way. That means you do not have to figure out every path of life by yourself. You only need to walk close to me. For wherever I am, there is a way. There will be times when the journey you walk feels narrower than the path others choose. But beloved child, the narrow road is not meant to take away your freedom. It is meant to keep you close to my heart. The wide road of the world is often filled with noise and things that scatter the soul. But the road I lead you on will bring you into depth, and then you will understand that every step you take in obedience is a miracle, because you are not walking on the certainty of the world, but on my promise. If there are days when you feel lonely, do not be quick to see it as punishment. There are quiet spaces I allow, only so your soul may learn to meet me more deeply. Jacob was alone in the night before he wrestled with the angel and received a new name. Moses was alone in the wilderness before he heard my voice from the burning bush. Jesus also withdrew many times into solitary places to be alone with the Father. Beloved child, there are things that can only be born in the secret place with me. No one understands your heart more deeply than I do. People may hear the words you speak, but I hear even the things you cannot yet name. When others no longer have enough patience to listen to you, I am still there. When others forget what you have endured, I still remember. But I do not remember in order to condemn. I remember because you are precious to me. As Isaiah wrote, I have engraved your name on the palms of my hands. My child, you are not a nameless face in the crowd to heaven. Then the day will come when you realize that love is no longer something you have to force yourself to do. When your soul truly abides in me, love will flow naturally like water from the source of life. You will stop loving in order to be loved in return. You will stop giving in order to be recognized. My love within you will become your nature, no longer a duty. Like a branch carrying the life of the vine, you will carry my love into the world quietly. Yet truly, I am making your soul a place of rest for many others. People will come to you not because you always have the perfect answer, but because they feel peace when they are near you. They will wonder why, in the midst of this hurried and anxious world, you are still able to keep such gentleness. And beloved child, my presence within you will be the answer. Light does not need to advertise itself in order to be seen. A lamp only needs to burn. I also have not called you to live for self-display, but to shine with the quiet presence of my love. You will become a gentle yet powerful light, not overwhelming, but enough to guide souls who are lost in the night. What is happening within you right now is not an ending, it is a rebirth. Old layers are falling away like autumn leaves, so that a new season may have room to grow. Do not try to hold on to what I am gently taking away. A hand that grips too tightly will find it hard to receive something new. But when you release what has died, I will place in your hands something far more full of life. Remember the woman of Zarephath in the days of Elijah. She had only a little flour and oil left. But when she dared to give in faith, I caused the jar of oil not to run dry. My child, many times the miracle begins with letting go. When you stop trying to hold everything by fear, you will see my grace begin to flow. And if one day you stand at a crossroads and do not know where to go, do not panic. Do not try to find the answer through fear. Seek me, for I do not only show the way, I am the way. When you walk with me, even the most ordinary place becomes holy ground. When you hear my voice, darkness will no longer have the power to direct you, for I am the light of the world. And that light is not far away in the sky. It is being kindled day by day within your very soul. Beloved child, I am clothing your soul with a new garment, not a garment woven from fame, success, or the recognition of the world, but a garment of peace that comes from my presence. People wear many layers of defense because they are afraid of being hurt, afraid of being judged, afraid of not being valuable enough. But I want you to put on what comes from heaven, trust in me, the gentleness of gratitude, and the warmth of a love that no longer has to prove itself. When you put on that garment, the words of others will no longer make your heart tremble as easily as before. Judging eyes will no longer have enough power to define you, not because you have become numb, but because your identity has been anchored in my love. Just as the prodigal son was clothed with a new robe upon his return to his father, I am also restoring dignity and rest to your soul. My child, the garment I give does not only cover your wounds, it carries the fragrance of heaven, the kind of fragrance that makes others feel peace when they are near you, even if they do not understand why. There are people who enter a room and bring pressure with them, but I am making you someone who brings a softening of the atmosphere wherever you go, not because you always have the perfect answer, but because my presence is covering your life like fragrant oil in the ancient temple. Just as Mary broke the alabaster jar of nard over the feet of Jesus, and the whole house was filled with its fragrance, your soul too will release the fragrance of grace when you live close to me long enough. Therefore, beloved child, when you speak, do not speak in order to win. The world is already too full of voices trying to prove they are right. I want your words to become a place of rest for weary hearts. Let your speech carry healing instead of the sharpness of pride. A gentle word is sometimes stronger than 100 arguments. As Proverbs says, a soft answer turns away wrath. There are hearts that do not need more reasoning. They need a voice that carries the peace of heaven. When you speak with my love, the souls of others will feel touched, even before they fully understand what you are saying. Jesus did not touch people only through miracles. Many times, the way he looked, the way he called their names, and the way he listened were enough to make broken souls feel seen and loved. My child, I am teaching you to love in that same way, not loudly, not for display, but truly. I am making you a bearer of oil. In Scripture, oil is a sign of being set apart and of the presence of the Holy Spirit. When David was anointed, he did not immediately ascend the throne, but from that moment on, his life carried the mark of heaven. Beloved child, what I am placing upon you is not so you may become greater than others. It is so you may become an instrument that brings life to dry places. There are people who become hardened after passing through pain, but I do not allow trials to make you calloused. I use them to make you deeper. That depth is the place where I plant the seeds of true influence. People often think strength is found in standing high enough for everyone to see, but true light does not come from a high position. It comes from a soul that has been set aflame by my love and presence within. A small flame in the dark night is still enough to guide someone who is lost. A heart filled with peace can still change the atmosphere of an entire room. And I am making you that kind of light, not dazzling in order to draw attention, but warm enough for others to want to come near. As Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." My child, the light I have placed within you does not need to shout in order to be recognized. It only needs to keep burning. Then the time will come when you look back over the whole journey you have walked and begin to understand what still confuses you today. You will see that no encounter was accidental. No long night was useless. No season of waiting was wasted. The winding roads, the closed doors, the losses you once wept over, all of them were pieces in the tapestry of grace I am weaving for your life. Joseph did not understand why he was sold into slavery. David did not understand why he had to flee, even after being anointed as king. But the day came when they looked back and recognized that my hand had been guiding them through every turn. Beloved child, there will also come a day when you bow your head and say, as Joseph did, "What people meant for evil, God meant for good." Then your heart will no longer be full of regret or accusation, but full of worship, because you see how faithful I have been. I want you to understand that true blessing is not a life without storms. True blessing is knowing that I am with you in the storm. Jesus did not prevent the storm from coming upon the disciples, but he was in the boat with them. And when he stood and said, "Peace, be still," the raging sea had to bow down. Beloved child, true peace does not come from your life being free of trials, but from knowing who holds the wind and the waves. When you truly understand this, fear will gradually lose its power over your heart. As it is written in 1 John 4:18, perfect love casts out fear, not because you become stronger by your own strength, but because you begin to believe that my love is greater than everything that threatens you. Therefore, from today onward, let your heart become a place filled with gratitude. People often give thanks only when everything is favorable, but a mature soul learns to give thanks even in the middle of an unfinished journey. When you wake each morning and whisper, "Thank you, Father," heaven rejoices because your heart is opening itself to grace. And when night falls, if the last words you speak are, "I belong to you," your soul will sleep in a peace the world cannot give. Gratitude has the power to transform the way you see everything. It does not deny pain, but it does not allow pain to become the loudest voice. It turns burdens into songs. It turns tears into waters that nourish a new season. It turns what seemed like loss into the very place where I sow life again. Beloved child, when you live in that gratitude, you are moving in harmony with heaven. For thanksgiving is the language of souls who know they were loved before they were ever worthy. And then your life will gradually become a gentle hymn, not a hymn of perfection, but the song of a soul that has passed through fire, passed through the dark night, and finally realized that in every season of life, I was still there, still loving you, and never once letting go of your hand. Beloved child, your soul has begun to touch a maturity that the world cannot teach through books or achieve through effort. You have learned how to rest in my love, and you have also learned how to love from that very rest. There are people who pass through storms and become bitter, pass through wounds and close their hearts, pass through disappointment and lose the softness of their souls. But my child, what pleases me in you is not that you have never been hurt, but that after all these things, your heart still knows how to feel, how to have compassion, how to love, and how to weep with others. That is the sign of a soul growing in my spirit. The world often calls strength the ability to overpower, a loud voice, an unyielding hardness. But in my kingdom, the deepest strength is the peace of a soul that knows it is loved. Jesus could sleep peacefully in the middle of the storm while the disciples panicked, not because the sea was not fierce, but because he knew the Father was still holding all things. Beloved child, I am leading you into that kind of peace, the place where storms no longer have the power to define the state of your soul. You have walked a longer journey than you realize. From the days when your heart was governed by fear, I taught you to step into faith. Then from faith, I led you into the understanding that I am truly with you. But now, I am bringing you even deeper, not merely to know about me, but to abide in me. As Jesus said in John 15, "Abide in me, and I in you." My child, this is no longer a relationship of striving and strain. This is the connection of love. You do not enter this nearness by merit, not because you have prayed enough, done well enough, or never stumbled. You abide in me because I have opened the way by grace. Just as a child sleeps peacefully in the arms of their father without needing to be worthy of being held, your soul is invited to rest in me in the same way. When you sit quietly in the stillness of an afternoon and hear the wind moving through the branches, do not think it is merely an ordinary moment. Heaven is still touching you through those small things. I still send my love through the gentle light on the window, through the breeze touching your face, through the scent of grass after the rain. There are people who go through their whole lives without recognizing me because they seek only what is extraordinary. But, beloved child, I am always present in what is simple, just as the prophet Elijah recognized me in the still, gentle whisper. You too will begin to recognize me in the tenderness of everyday life. No moment is empty when your soul is open to my presence. Grace is no longer something you are waiting to receive later. It is the air you breathe each day. Life is no longer a distant goal you must reach. It is the river I am allowing you to immerse yourself in right now. And, beloved child, do not be afraid when your heart becomes very quiet. There may be moments when you wonder why the old desires no longer burn within you as they once did. Why your soul no longer feels pressured to chase after something in order to prove itself. That is not a loss of direction. That is when you begin to touch my center, the place where the soul stops struggling to be recognized, stops striving to become enough, and learns simply to abide. Mary understood this when she sat at the feet of Jesus, while Martha was busy and troubled about many things. People often think that worth comes from doing a great deal, but Jesus said that Mary had chosen the better part. My child, there is a very deep holiness in simply being near me with an open heart, for in that place, your soul is formed anew. You will gradually realize that the most precious thing in this life is not how many things you finally achieve, but whether you keep my presence throughout the journey. A person may have everything and still remain empty if they lose that nearness. But a soul that abides in me will carry heaven even in the midst of ordinary life. True strength begins to be born when you stop trying to do everything by your own power and learn to remain still in me. People run without ceasing because they fear they will become meaningless if they stop. But I am teaching you that your worth is not found in how much you can accomplish, but in whom you belong to. And from that place of rest, everything that is right for its season will naturally begin to bear fruit. I am turning your soul into a garden of dawn. There were places once dry because of weariness and disappointment, but now new light is covering them. The birds of the sky are beginning to sing again in places that were once silent. The tender shoots of joy are springing up where you once thought only ashes remained. As it is written in Isaiah, those who wait upon the Lord shall mount up with wings like eagles. Your soul, too, is being renewed day by day. Each morning when you wake, I want you to look at life with the eyes of a child, not with naivete or lack of understanding, but with a heart that still knows how to marvel at the beauty of life. Jesus said that unless one becomes like a little child, they cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. For a child knows how to rejoice in small things, how to trust, and how to receive a gift without feeling the need to deserve it first. Beloved child, miracles are not only great things that shake heaven and earth. A true miracle is often found in a soul that remains tender in a world growing colder. It is when you can still love after being wounded, still hope after disappointment, still remain gentle after harsh seasons of life. That is the very miracle I am working within you. When you look at a flower blooming, a ray of sunlight passing through the leaves, or feel the breeze of the early morning, remember that I am still speaking to you through all these things. I am reminding you that life still continues, that beauty still exists, and that love has never left this world. And beloved child, you too are becoming part of that beauty, a soul carrying the gentle light of heaven into the midst of this weary life. So today, do not hurry anymore. Do not force your soul to run faster than the rhythm of grace. Simply abide in me. Let my peace cover you like dawn covering the earth after a long night. For in that rest, you will realize that the greatest thing I have ever wanted to give you is not merely blessing or miracles, but myself, the eternal presence that will never leave your soul. Beloved child, stop growing weary from trying to become another version of yourself just to be loved. I have never required you to be perfect before you may step into my arms. From the very beginning, my love came to find you right in the midst of your cracks, your weaknesses, and your most chaotic seasons of life. If I only loved those who were complete, no soul on this earth would be worthy of being held. But my child, I do not love you because you are already perfected. I love you in order to lead you into perfection through grace. There were years when you lived with the feeling that you had to fix yourself first before you dared to draw near to me. You tried to become stronger, better, more worthy, as though my love were a reward reserved for those who had done well enough. But look at Jesus when he walked on the earth. He did not wait for the leper to become clean before touching him. He did not wait for Matthew to become holy before calling him to follow. He did not wait for Peter to be free from weakness before choosing him as the rock for the church. My love always comes first. And then that very love begins to transform the soul. Beloved child, allow my love to enter the places within you that you are still trying to hide. There are areas in your heart that have become hardened because they have been wounded too many times. There are parts that have grown cold because disappointment has lasted so long. There are tears you have hidden beneath the ordinary smile you wear each day. But I do not come to condemn those places. I come like warm water flowing through dry ground. Like the first sunlight after a long winter, I will soften what has become calloused. I will heal what has been torn. And I will kindle life again in the places where you once thought nothing could ever be revived. As you step into this new season, you will begin to realize that the work I do within your soul is often very quiet. The world loves what is loud and immediate, but my kingdom grows like a seed beneath the soil silently, yet steadily. A tree does not mature in one night. It grows day by day through light, water, and patience. So it is with you. There are changes taking place within you that you may not yet clearly see today. But the time will come when the fruit appears, and you will understand that not one day of waiting was wasted. As James wrote, the testing of your faith produces patience. My child, the long nights you have walked through were not only pain, they were creating depth within your soul. Every time you broke and then stood again with me, something new was being formed. People often fear being broken, but many times it is through the very cracks that my light can enter more deeply. Do not panic when you feel that you are no longer the same as before. Freedom can sometimes confuse the soul, especially when it has grown used to living for so long in the chains of fear. A person stepping out of a dark room will blink before the light, not because the light is hurting them, but because their eyes are learning to see again. Beloved child, I am leading you out of the invisible prisons that have held you for so long, the prison of shame, the fear of rejection, and the need to constantly prove your worth. Remember when the people of Israel were delivered from Egypt, even though their chains had been removed. Many times their hearts still wanted to return to the old place of slavery because they were not yet used to freedom. So it is with you. There are old habits of fear that still try to pull you back. But I am teaching your soul to walk as one who truly belongs to the light. True freedom is not doing everything you want. True freedom is no longer being controlled by what you fear. My child, I am renewing the way you see yourself. For so long, the world has taught you that worth comes from achievement, from recognition, and from always having to be better than others. But in my kingdom, everything begins with rest. A tree does not pull itself upward by force. It simply remains near the water and the light. Your soul was created to live in the same way. Faith is not a desperate effort to make me act. Faith is resting in the truth that I have loved you from the beginning. When you truly rest in me, your eyes begin to see differently. You no longer look at life through the fear of lack, but through the fullness of grace. You no longer see yourself through the lens of old failures, but through the identity I have placed upon you. And when you see, as I see, you will gradually become more like me, as it is written in 2 Corinthians. When we behold the glory of the Lord, we are transformed from glory to glory by the Spirit. Beloved child, you were not created to shine by your own strength. The moon has no light of its own. It reflects the light of the sun. So it is with you. The closer you remain to me, the more naturally you will reflect my light. People often exhaust themselves trying to become what they are not. But you will find peace when you understand that what I desire from you is not tense perfection, but true nearness. Do not worry too much about the future. I do not lead you with a complete map for the entire journey. I lead you by my voice. Abraham walked without knowing where he was going, but he knew the one who was calling him. My child, many times I do not show you the whole road, because I want you to learn to trust my presence more than the certainty of circumstances. And remember this, peace is the compass of heaven. When your soul is in the place where I want it to be, there will be a deep stillness within, even when everything outside remains chaotic. But when you begin to drift away from what I have prepared for you, your heart will lose that rest. Therefore, do not only ask what is right according to reason. Listen for my peace within your heart. As it is written in Colossians 3:15, let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts,